last year, Olivier filled in for the CEO of Accor, who was stuck elsewhere in the world, literally. And Olivier, at about 15 minutes notice, joined me on stage in Nairobi. And Casada was something that was being discussed at the time. But incredibly, we're now a year on, and Olivier and a team now of 15 people in Johannesburg have successfully closed on a $500 million fund, $500 million, for investment in hotels in sub-Saharan Africa, which is pretty remarkable. So Olivier's with me. We've got about 15 minutes maybe, and we're hopefully going to hear about what's happening. Hopefully I haven't given too much away already. But Olivier, firstly, I guess apart from the difficulty of trying to convince people to invest $500 million in Africa, was it actually difficult, or did you just go to Doha and they said, sure, we've got some spare cash? How did that happen, and why is a fund focused on sub-Saharan Africa? How have you been so successful in getting that type of commitment? Because it is a huge amount of money.
It's a huge amount of money. It's a huge continent and opportunities.
Yeah, you need to sort of drop your chin a bit, I'm afraid.
Okay. So it's huge opportunities. I think it's important to understand and to face the reality and the challenge that exists. And you're absolutely right that we have our closing end of last April with 500 million, with two strategic investors, with Qatar Hospitality and Accor, with, I think, a very good vision, realistic about the challenge that exists in Africa. And during the conference, it's, I think, important that we all share the reality of the market. If you want to invest, the operational performance of the hotel are challenging. Most of the market is 50-60% occupancy. The financing costs are very significant, and construction costs also are above what exists in other markets. So the challenge exists. We are fully aware of that. But then, and it was presented earlier this morning, when you look at the combination of the democratic growth with the development of the economy and urbanization and all the connectivity, we see the market. So Casada, we try to bring the scale and we try to facilitate and provide solution between the local investor, the access to the financing, and also the construction, as we can, thanks to our resources, monitor several projects at the same time and bring the scale that is missing in the market.
So Olivier, just bearing in mind not everyone in the audience will have a full understanding of the fund, you're talking about sub-Saharan Africa specifically, and you're talking about partnering with developers in these countries. But ultimately, Accor, one of Accor's brands, will be running the hotel. Is that correct?
So Casada is an independent investment platform, fully dedicated to hospitality in sub-Saharan Africa. The hotel that will develop will be Accor branded and managed by Accor. And we have put in place a team which is quite exceptional, as the combination of people coming from the private equity and people coming from the hospitality industry. So yes, last year you had very well taken the point that 500 million for two people, because it was David and I, it's a lot. We managed, so end of June we were 10, end of summer 15, we are 17 today. We will reach soon 20, and we expect our target is 20 to 25. And so we have a strong delegation at the conference, of course with David, also Lasse, who is well known in the industry. But then we have Pierre-Etienne, Ram, Lokan. That's their first participation at AHIF. They are very nice, smart, excited to be here. So please do not hesitate to engage with them. Because again, the point is how we can provide solution, interact with a number of people, and what we're looking is bridging the gap and helping to deliver the project. So there is a lot of excitement, there is a lot of project that exist. Then there is a need to structure it and to be able to get the financing and to have the project done. And that's what we aim at, providing a return on investment for our investor, and at the same time, creating an impact on the market.
So we heard from Mark, obviously, earlier on the panel, just before coffee. Obviously, Accor, a huge player in Africa already, 160 hotels, 38 brands. Is there any sort of mix that you're looking for ideally in terms of urban, resort, specific markets, specific brands? Is there any sort of nudging from Accor as to, well, we'd like to, make sure that we get this brand up and running?
So the positioning of Casada is to target the large key cities, prime location, city center. 70% of what we'll develop will be economy, mid-scale segment, some service apartment. We can also provide some upscale with five-star property and all conference facilities that are needed. And this is how we can accompany the emerging African middle class and all the travelers in Africa. So to provide some properties that are branded. As a reminder, in Africa, it's branded hotel, it's around 10% versus 25% as the average worldwide. So there is a need for branded hotel, attractive product at affordable price, and that's what we're looking at.
So one of the things that I guess the audience would like to hear is you closed the fund in April. Have you managed to spend any of it yet? We're 5 months in. 5 months is a long time. Have you got any deals in the hopper, anything that we should know about?
Thank you, Nick. No pressure, especially in front of our investor. 5 months is a long time. 5 months is the time for us to engage due diligence. So we have some due diligence on different projects that are well engaged. We have a very attractive pipeline, which was, by the way, one of the questions last year where there was a lot in the audience of people asking, but when we look at the number of projects that are actually open every year, how are you going to spend that amount? Well, our expectation that has been fully confirmed is that we see the potential, we see the opportunities, so we have the pipeline. Then we have to find the right equilibrium with the excitement of progressing well and making some announcement, and at the same time to make sure that we do it in a very professional manner, that we raise and we go to an extra level, and we have all the professional due diligence in order to invest with a long-term perspective. So we have a 10 to 12 years perspective. We expect to announce some first deal hopefully by the end of the year. But then we need, especially in most of the markets here, there is a need to, as investor, to have proper due diligence, and that's what we are doing at the moment.
So of course, not only, the spending of the money is the one thing, but you've got some pretty tough investors. I mean, and I guess that's why David is on board, to keep the hotel guys honest. I'm assuming, given this is a financial vehicle, that there's a return expectation, and probably quite high. Is it, in your view, you've got a lot of experience in Africa, you've been working here for a very long time. There's fantastic success stories, and then there's lots of stories that are less fantastic. How do you achieve these obvious sort of investor yield objectives at the same time? Is that, you said you've got some deals in the hopper, it's looking better. Can you get the numbers to work as well?
Yes, there is some expectation. Again, our investor have also strategic vision. We have some obvious exchange with Accor that will operate the hotel. We also have a lot of exchange with Qatar Hospitality and QA, and I'm very pleased that we have Kamal here that is present. That's his first participation to AHIF as well. So it's not only a question of money, it's also a lot of exchange. There is a strong interest for Africa, and this is bringing a lot of contribution to the team. So we have to manage the long-term perspective with the investment that are assessed project by project. But then it's how the Casada team can bring an added value, and we are looking at a project that I cannot name at the moment, but what is interesting is that this was known in the market for a certain time. But then putting our expertise, with our construction expertise, with our operational expertise, in terms of configuration of the project, we have managed to dramatically change the project to reduce the cost and to have something which was very difficult to finance, now to make it attractive. So this is also the expertise that we like to bring to the market in a number of projects to make it happen and to try to optimize the project.
I mean, you know, it's been discussed already this morning, and it's observable if you look around Addis. You know, there's a lot of hotel projects underway here, but a lot of them are moving relatively slowly, and it's a mix of challenges around project management and financing, of course. Are you saying that one of your advantages is effectively those type of problems you're actually in a position to solve, which most developers obviously struggle with, because you have the firepower and obviously you have the knowledge and expertise to do it?
I don't have a magic stick, so I will not, I mean, we try to be realistic as much as possible. So we know what are the difficulties and what a lot of people face today in the market. What we're saying is that with the quite unique team we have, with our size, with our capacity to negotiate with financing institutions, we are in better position to try to bring solutions. So we are saying this with a lot of humility and respect for all the people today that are struggling in a number of projects, but this is where we can enter in discussion and we can bring some support to some projects.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you're talking about a sort of 10 to 12 year horizon. That's obviously quite refreshing, because in the hotel business, you know, we talk about the hotel business being long term, but actually when you get around a table, you discover most people around the table want things relatively fast. So getting into situations that are relatively complex against the background of a 10 to 12 year horizon, obviously those two things are actually more in alignment than they traditionally are. So you have, frankly, quite a significant strategic advantage. Do you look out there and think someone else will work this out and jump on the bandwagon and do the same thing? Because you've got a monopoly in this situation at the moment, haven't you?
Well, I will not put it in that way, but yes, we expect that in the future there will be similar platform and that some more people will come and compete, which I believe will be good news, a good sign of maturity of the market, which will be a good opportunity even for Casada, our investor, bringing some more money, more resources, more liquidity to the market. So that's what we expect. It's not a question of monopoly, it's a question of pioneer. Yes, we are pioneer. Today you have some financial vehicle that exist in South Africa, that exist in Morocco, but nothing really comparable on that size, looking globally at the Pan-African countries. So this is something we are proud, it's quite unique, and we contribute to the development of the market, and it will be very normal and expected that in the future, if we are successful with a good track record, it will give some ideas to others to do something similar.
So it's interesting, you just said something which I think is quite an important point. You see this as a sort of natural part of the evolution of the industry in Africa, in the sense that what you're doing is a reflection of Africa maturing as a market in the way you're looking at it. I mean, you're saying a lot of things that are really quite refreshing, right? You're taking a reasonable view on sort of the term of the investment. You've got very strategic investors, but ones that understand the market and understand the area they're investing in. You've got reasonable yield objectives and return expectations. But ultimately, what you're doing is no different to what we've seen in the US, in Europe, in Asia, and has been available to investors there for years. So you're taking a view on Africa that this is the time to do it. I mean, is that what I'm hearing?
This is the time to look for maturity. We are proud of the team that we have, where we bring people that are at the best level and that could have key position in Paris, London, Dubai, or that were already in Africa. And we believe that the continent deserves to have this quality. And again, this is to provide some solutions. And to do it still with the view that we need to have the long-term and the sustainable approach. And this is something where obviously we are not the only one doing it. Then this is, and it's good to have this forum with AHIF on how we can have broader perspective and how between the operator, the investor, people for the construction, we can engage in some markets, some discussion with the local authorities to see what is needed in terms of education, in terms of investment, in terms of infrastructure to develop the hospitality industry. I mean, the key figure is hospitality supply in Africa is less than 2% of the worldwide hospitality. So maturity in the market is how we can bridge the gap. At Casada, we believe that we can play a role, but with, of course, a view that a lot of other players exist in the market. And it's good to have a global approach on this and to exchange as much as possible to bridge the gap and to have more maturity in the market.
So just talking about the team, obviously David and you are co-managing partners. How do the two of you obviously have very different backgrounds and complementary. How do you split your time in terms of activity? What do you spend your time doing and what does David spend his time doing?
Well, it's very natural as our backgrounds are different, and it's interesting because most of the time we come with different approach, and most of the time we reach similar conclusion. So we are doing some exercise like review of the market, where it's important that we do it together and we exchange our views, and then there is a natural split depending on the topics. But what is important for us is to spend a lot of the time at the moment with the team and to build our team and to make sure that people coming from private equity or hospitality or people that were based in Africa with working in other sector in Africa, saying that it's different approach, different background, it's nice. The reality is that it's really different. And we spend a lot of time on the recruitment, and we are very proud of the team to find then our culture, our way of working, and to make sure that everybody is comfortable and everybody is ready to be excited and to move at full speed.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I suspect that we're going to be hearing a lot more from Casada, and I guess this time next year when we're sitting with Olivier, maybe make it 3 in a row. He should have some deals under his belt, and we'll be looking at what he's done with amazement. But all it goes for us to say now is thank you very much for joining us on the stage, Olivier. Merci beaucoup.